Welcome to the Healthy Perspective Podcast with your host, chiropractor, entrepreneur, mentor, and author, Dr. Chris Bowman. He'll break down and extract the secret sauce behind his own success and the success of some of the top leaders in every category and from around the world. Get ready for your weekly mental adjustment because shift is going to happen.
What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Healthy Perspective Podcast. You are in for a treat today. We have some of my best friends living on the other side of the world in Nigeria. That being said, if the audio does cut out a little bit, it's because they're in Nigeria. We're going to try to get it all the way through, but if it does, stay tuned. Their names are Kaylee and James Wilson. They're some of my dear friends. They're doing so much for the Lord. They've done so much as entrepreneurs. They have probably the biggest vision of any of my friends that I have. And so I love being around them. I love talking with them. It's never a 2-minute conversation. We always just dive into the deepest parts of life. And we've done life together, from entrepreneurship opportunities to church to raising kids. And so this is going to be an amazing episode for you to just get an insight on what it's like to have not just a network of people that you do business with, but when your friend group is aligned and congruent in pursuing the same things, what type of life you can enjoy and how you can have people not only keep you accountable, but spur you on. It's an amazing friendship that we have. And I'm so excited that they're willing to join me on the podcast today. Kaylee and James, say hello.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
This is so exciting.
So exciting. So let's just kind of start from the beginning. How did we first even connect?
Well, I guess you saw our Facebook page for our little coffee company, and you reached out and you said that you were interested in maybe doing something with coffee someday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I had just moved into my new location at Trailhead, and there's a bunch of empty space, and I'm like, wow, there's like 14 gyms and a chiropractic office and a massage place. This would be a great space for a coffee smoothie shop. And so I think I was looking for somebody that had their own like roaster or something, their beans, but didn't have a location. And yeah, and I was like, hey, that fits you guys. So when we first got in contact, I think you were still in Ghana, right? And then you said, oh, we'll be in Oregon and this time, let's talk then, or something like that.
Yeah, I think we had just gotten back home from Ghana, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we had just gotten back home and we set up a phone call with you guys. Yeah. And the whole time talking, we were just like, whoa, it was just like that instant connection, that instant friendship. We got off the phone and we're just like, okay, wow, that was like really cool.
Thanks, God.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. And then a couple months later, we moved back down to California.
Yeah.
And met with you guys in real life, and we just continued the friendship and continued dreaming about businesses together, and always looking for places. And
right at that time we were exiting the corporate church mindset, and we were looking for a home church when we got back down to California, and you guys were doing Greenhouse Home Church at the time. So it was a really good opportunity to come in and start doing life with you guys.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And pretty much exact same stage of life. You had adjusted. You just had Wella and we just had Rosie, and then we got pregnant at the same times. And so our kids are a little bit, pretty much the same age. And so really cool walking through those different age, ranges together and learning and growing businesses and whatnot. And it's interesting thinking about where our original discussions were and where they are today. And I feel like they're really not entirely different. Like we're still pursuing the next thing. We're still dreaming. We're still thinking bigger, and they're different subjects, but ultimately that part of it has never stopped. And I love that, because we never did do a coffee shop together. We don't do church, really together anymore, but it's not like those things are what bound us. And I think that's important for people to hear when they're forming, relationships or friendships or partnerships or, whatever. It's like, if the thing that you guys originally came together on or liked about someone all of a sudden disappeared, like, are they still someone that you want to be around, and for us, obviously it's more than just coffee or smoothie shops, more than just the place that we meet. Like, our connection is ultimately in the purpose that the Lord has instilled in our hearts, where there's people out there that are hurting. There's people out there that haven't heard the truth. There's people out there that are looking in all the wrong places for love, for healing, for purpose, and we have that knowledge and experience to give to them. And so I feel like that's what it's always been based around, no matter the vehicle, what it looks like, the physical part of it. It's that spiritual aspect that's always like stayed true and continue to grow and develop. It's funny, the other day we drove to Albertsons in my car, and I looked back and I remember the exact parking spot that we were in when you guys told us you're moving to Nigeria to adopt this, this baby girl, and when you're going. And I think still like tears like well up in my eyes. It's like, man, we had done so much life and we're so close, but it's cool to see that we can still pop on and, just still have this really close friendship and relationship. So adoption, what is this heart of adoption, and how are you able to fund it? How are you guys able to just take on this kid and live in Nigeria and not necessarily have to worry about, going and getting a job? And why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's good. Well, with our first adoption in Ghana, we had just become debt free, and the Lord kind of guided us through that process, and that really opened up more doors for us. We got stuck living in Ghana for almost 2 years, and if we would have had car payments and house payments and
student loans and credit cards,
I mean, we could not have done it. And we just, that's when God taught us how to surrender. That's when he taught us how to fully trust him, because there were times when our bank account was getting down to like $50, and then we would just pray, and then someone would just PayPal us some money, or like, it was like a crazy way to live. And so, then we came back to America, and we still thought that God wanted us to open up a little shop, but the door never opened all the way. There was a few cracks, that we explored together, but
we started the coffee business as a fundraiser for the adoption.
Right. Yeah. We launched an online store in 2016 to raise money for the adoption of our daughter, Wella. And then within about a year and a half, we became nationwide. And that was so cool because people were buying the coffee to like support us. So that was really fun. That's called Level Grounds Espresso. And so that was so cool and exciting.
And you guys don't roast it. You guys don't source it. You essentially just have a website that you market it, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then, I mean, when we came back to California, then we were helping our friend roast it and package it and stuff. But now there's a whole fulfillment team, and like, we don't have to be there. So yeah, it's all online. And so we do all the marketing and all of that kind of stuff for it. And now we really focus on doing fundraisers for other adoptive families, missionaries, charities. That was originally what we felt God wanted it to be, is not like a income per se, but a way to give. And so now we're able to give away 100% of the proceeds to families. And we just had a family last week that raised $1,400 in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Doing a coffee fundraiser. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so we super duper love that.
Yeah.
And then you guys were like the first people we told when we found out that we were adopting Eden from Nigeria. And we didn't even know her name at the time. I was praying for a name. And then Jess, your wife, was praying for a name. And we both got the same name, which is just like so cool. Eden. God said her name is to be Eden. And around that time, God literally gave us this idea for this graphic design website. Yeah. He gave you the idea, really.
Right. And then he confirmed it through my partner at the time, because I was still working in person at the roasting facility. And this was like mid-COVID. So he gave me an opportunity to exit the physical working world and become financially prepared to work online anywhere, so that we could come here to Nigeria and live as a family comfortably, as opposed to having this stress about thinking about, are we going to split up? How long is she going to be there? How long am I going to stay here? What's going to happen? It's like a completely different it's a completely different story.
It was like
adoption.
God was blessing us in this way financially because we trusted him the first time, the first round. And so we just started building that business from the ground up before we left for Nigeria. And I mean, our first couple months of sales, it was just crazy, like just unreal. And it was like, what? This is like a startup company. But we just started creating logos for people, labels that go on coffee bags. It was all coffee related stuff. And now we create websites for people. And it's great because we can do it from anywhere. So we really felt like that was a huge blessing from the Lord. And as you know, like we have that entrepreneur mind and that creative mind. So we always want to do like, what's the next thing? Like, we always need to have, kind of something that we're doing. And so we like being able to do this job because we do get to be creative and do all that. But we also homeschool our kids. We very much enjoy time as a family, and it just gives us a lot of open time to just be together and study the Bible more, which is what we've been doing a lot of lately. Yeah. So,
this is two things were kind of speaking to me as you guys are talking that are super unique and not contrary, but don't really fit the narrative, where normally, especially for people that, don't go to church or don't subscribe to Christianity or, anything like that. When they hear missionaries, which is what you guys are, they think, people that essentially suck funds from a church to go live somewhere and not work and preach the Bible or, whatever it is in the Bahamas, or, make maybe even a bad view of like they're living a better life than maybe some of the church congregants, but you guys are not only missionaries that are tent makers, you've built your own business to sustain yourself, but you're missionaries that are supporting other missionaries. Like I don't think many other missionaries are honestly thinking of ways that they can give to other missionaries, like financially, like maybe when they're on the field, there's some synergy, providing meals and all that stuff. But you guys have literally people reaching out and say, hey, we want to adopt kids, can we run a fundraiser through you? Like, I've never heard of another missionary saying, I'm raising funds for somebody else to go do this. And I think that's
I haven't really thought of it like that.
I hadn't either, honestly, until you guys were talking about it. And I think there is a shift, there is a movement away from missionaries being dependent on a church, especially, it's one of the, I don't know if it's a one way or another type, maybe just a realization through COVID that we're not in control. Even though we've met for, a church can be 100 years old, COVID can change that in an instant. That church can dissolve and that missionary can be stuck if they're fully dependent on, a church home to give. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, as much as a realization, like, just because that's the way things are done doesn't mean that's the way things have to go. And maybe if there are any missionaries or people like listening that are in that situation, maybe pray like, Lord, is there a way for me to be self-sufficient? Not because it's a bad thing for the church to support me, but in a way, now I can give to other people that are in my exact situation. And the church can maybe focus a little bit more locally rather than always focused on, other countries and other areas, which again, isn't a bad thing. But COVID has shown, like, instantly we can need to take all our money and help locally. There's people that have lost their jobs. There's people that, and how cool of a church to be able to be like, hey guys, we can't send you a check this month, but I know you don't need it because you're doing this, and this. Like, this person lost their job and we're going to support them. And I think that's such a cool thing. The second thing that I thought was super interesting is, I think when a lot of people think about opening an online store, they think they have to be like a Walmart, where we got to have the lamps, the this, the that, the every, we have to have every searchable term possible. So that way people would find my store. You guys are niche within a niche. So not only do you sell like coffee products, but a labeling website and design company for online coffee, coffee businesses. And one of my mentors said at a mastermind I was just at a couple months ago, he said, riches are in the niches, and I'm like, holy cow, like this is what you guys have started, a 5-figure business. I'm sure well on its way. You could sell it for 6 or 7 figures, I'm sure, if you wanted to. And you're literally like not even selling your own coffee on the online, like you're selling the resources for other people to sell coffee. And it reminds me of another concept. Where did I hear this one? From MJ DeMarco in his book, the first one that he wrote, Fast Lane Millionaire. He said, in the gold rush, the richest people probably weren't the people that found the gold. They're the people selling the shovels to the miners.
Oh, that's good.
Because so if you think about opportunity like that, there's more opportunity than just what everybody wants. If you give people the resources to try to get what they want, everybody thinks you can make a ton of money selling coffee, which is true, but somebody has to supply the people that are selling the coffee the resources. And that's what you guys did. And I'm sure you didn't like think about it in that way, like, oh, there's a bunch of people wanting to start, it's just kind of like led to one thing after another. But now thinking back and reflecting on it, for people that want to start an online business, riches are in the niches. And then how can you provide the resources for people that everybody's going to, like, for example, I think online businesses that a lot of people like to start are like the fidget spinner type phenomenons, or the mask where you can sell, millions of units in a couple of months, knowing that it's going to die out. But because you don't hold inventory, you can just find the next deal, so if you can find, what if you create some sort of algorithm or SAS where you can, find trends, search terms for different things that are beginning to go viral. And then you can be the first one on, you know what I mean? So you can provide the people that, hey, this is what's coming next, put this in your store, or, start a subscriber thing. But anyways, I just thought that was really cool that it's just kind of one step at a time. It's cool to see the Lord lead you in things. And now that we can reflect on it, it's like, we actually wouldn't have done it any other way. Because if you didn't work in the store, you never would have seen that there was a need for people, and how many people were trying to open up their own coffee business, and through that experience, through that taking that stepping stone of, we want to be free, we want to work in Nigeria, this is where the Lord has us now. And one step at a time, he led you into that. And so I think a lot of people get stuck too. They're working at McDonald's and it's like, I have to quit my job at McDonald's in order to be an entrepreneur. I was like, well, you can learn a lot from the processes, a lot from people at McDonald's, and then take that skill and level it up into your own niche, And I love how that's enabling you to live your selfless purpose. I think you guys have told me there's like 6 or 7 other kids you feel like the Lord has put on your heart, and this business is going to enable you guys to do that, no problem. There's no way a single mom, well, not a single mom, but like dad that has to work full time and a mom that's at home could parent well 6 or 7 adopted kids. Like it requires that family unit.
She could do well.
If anybody could do it, it would be Kaylee. You're right.
I don't know about that.
But how much better are these kids going to be able to see Jesus ultimately, not just because you look like Jesus, but because it's a representation of the family unit, of headship and submissive sacrifice, and all the things that go along with seeing a healthy marriage. Goes into, here's what our kids have to see. And so it's such a cool opportunity that it's not just they have a home where they can be in a safer, cleaner, spirit-filled place, but now they actually get to witness this is what it's like, regardless of, income of a family unit, to be together. That's cool to kind of see that all come together in a way that we can reflect now and be like, okay, that happened. And I couldn't have done it any other way better if I had planned it. Like,
That's right.
Yeah.
And even this skill set that we're utilizing right now to do it has been little things that the Lord has taught us throughout our other careers and throughout our other, even hobbies. Like as I'm building these websites, I'm thanking God for my past of like playing video games, because a lot of the things that I'm doing, there's a lot of repetition. There's a lot of creating things that didn't exist and then turning them into something new. Like he's making all things work together for the good of those who trust in him, and we trust in him completely. And he's taking even the things that I wouldn't say that I'm super proud of spending my time doing, thousands of hours playing video games as a high schooler, and turning it into something that I can actually utilize now in my working world. And Kaylee, graphic design and photography and making money doing marketing content, like it's falling together as a grand puzzle, and he is the designer of each piece, and we're just marveling at what we see.
And I think he's calling us into a time in the next couple of years where someone will come along and we will end up selling that business.
Yeah.
Because he is going to want us to do just full-time
service.
Yeah. Service eventually. I don't know when it will be. Maybe when we get back to the United States in a few months. We don't know, but it's just an exciting time because we trust him, and we're so grateful that he provided this, way for us to have an income. Because everyone's like, how do you do it? And how do you live? And we went through the other way of having nothing. So we know what that's like too. Right. And this time, so.
Yeah. Yeah. You get to live in an apartment with a couple of toilets instead of an outhouse, even though most of them don't work.
2 out of 4 work. Well, actually 3 out of 4 work now.
Hey.
The landlord came and like shoved some epoxy on the leaky pipe.
Oh, how nice. Probably just bubble gum or something, huh?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. For sure.
So now, getting to the part of the show that's really, one of my favorites is talking about the selfish why. Like no one goes and adopts people because it's like, oh, I just love these kids. Well, maybe they do, but like there's some sort of reason behind of like, there's some sort of reason behind of like, this is the beauty in the hard times. You guys sent me a picture of, when Eden laid down, spent the first night you guys in an apartment, and you put parchment paper all around the door and whatnot, so that way you could hear her in case she was trying to escape. And I mean, I'm sure there was many nights of not a lot of sleep and sickness and, all of that stuff. So when you're sitting in those times and your own baby, throwing up and just knowing that, man, she could be living such a different life in the United States with a nice home, never dealing with any of this illness or all of that stuff. Like what do you reflect on? What are the things that like motivate you to keep you going when it's like, you almost want to ask, like, is this even worth it?
It's good. Do you have a good response for that? It's literally just like God has like instilled this in us after much prayer and surrender. I think honestly it comes down to surrender. Like you have to get to a point where you're so surrendered to him that when you start to have those thoughts of like, what am I doing here? Like, this is crazy. How are we good enough to do, how are we equipped? Like, how am I the right mom to do, like, it's just like, no, you take every thought captive and you say, no, like God chose this for us. And God has shown us in dreams, kids that we're adopting, he's shown us in dreams that he's handpicking children for our family. So in those hard moments, that's what we come back to is him. And we just tell those negative thoughts to go, and we just remember the truth. And, cause of course there's hard moments, especially when one of your kids is 7 or 8 years old and no language, can't hear you. You're trying to teach them sign language. You're trying to teach them, kind of just normal, basic things. And it takes an extreme amount of patience and, but the Holy Spirit guides us, honestly. And so this is like, it's so fulfilling. Like it's fulfilling. Like it's hard.
If there were a selfish why, it would be in the fulfilling.
Yeah. Because it's fulfilling
nature.
For us. And it's almost like hard to understand. Like if someone hasn't experienced it, it would be hard, but even living in Ghana with like no money and living in this, little rural village, like
that was like classic African living, right? Like what probably people are thinking about, like.
Yes. Yeah. That was like National Geographic style stuff. But that it was so fulfilling. And like, even when we were in Ghana, I just remember telling James, I don't want to live a comfortable life, because if I'm living a comfortable life, then that means I'm not getting to experience having to rely on God like this. Yeah. And we told God, don't give us a comfortable life. Like we're ready. And there's moments when we feel like we're not ready, but he equips us, and we just, he knows that that's our desire. He's put that desire in us. And so we just trust him. And it's so exciting. Like it's an exciting life. And he brings people for us to pray for. We get to meet people. James will go out just in the evening and look for people to to minister to, just around our apartment complex. Like, it's more than just the adoption. Like, we asked him, why Nigeria? Show us what else you want us to do here while we're waiting. Because a lot of times when you're adopting, even in the first adoption, it was just like, take us home. Like, why are we still here? Hurry up, get back home. And this is much different because he's changed our perspective of how does he want to use us while we're here? Not just for that little girl, but who else can we touch with God's presence while we're here? And that goes for anywhere, wherever you are in your life, in your job, in your business, with your family. Like, if you're a believer, then you are walking around and you are radiating Christ's light. And the Bible says that we should be overflowing with the Holy Spirit. And when people come into contact with us, they should be experiencing God's love, even just a simple hello, a simple smile. And especially around here, when you smile at someone or say hello, they just love it. Their whole face lights up, especially because we're foreigners. They just love it that we would just say hello to them. And since James looks like Jesus, everyone goes around saying that Jesus has come to Nigeria. And it's a great conversation starter. And what do you always say when they say that?
Well, I felt like the Lord gave me this like micro sermon to just hit these people with when they say Jesus of Nazareth or Jesus Christ. That's okay. They've invited me to come and talk to them now. So I can approach them and say, you can look like Jesus too, right? And they usually say something like, oh, no, I can't grow the beard. I can't grow the hair. No. I said, no, because when Jesus came, he wasn't focused on the things seen. He was guiding us to look at the things unseen. He gave us the lifestyle of how to walk. He gave us the template of how to do it. He was the living word of God made flesh. He lived out all the word that was written, showed us how to do it, and then gave us his spirit to empower us. So if you want to look like Jesus where it matters, in your heart, not in your face, in your heart, in the actions that you do, and the words that you say, and the thoughts that you think. That's what matters to him. So that should matter to us as his children, because we are co-heirs with Christ.
That's right.
And they're just like, I was just making a joke.
No, they're like, can I get a selfie with you?
Yeah.
And they're like, can I get your phone number? And then I actually probably spend an average of 40 minutes continuing to minister to these people. I've had everything from a guy break down and tell me that he really struggles with lust and he just can't seem to get control of his lust, and women are his weakness. And I led him into prayer of renouncing lust. And at some point he wants to get baptized. So I told him to study what that means. And there have been others where I'm just talking to them about life. And with me, when you're talking about life, the Lord just comes in because I can't not talk about him. Yeah. He is my life. So if you're asking me about my life, you're going to hear about him. And I mean, there was this guard who was asking me for advice about his music. And he said that he was a Christian, but he was singing a lot of worldly music because the gospel music doesn't sell. And he was asking me to pray for him that God would bless his career. And I said, Jesus said, if you're not for me, you're against me. Do you think that same God is going to bless your secular career, your worldly career, when he gave you a gift to use for his glory? And he goes, I have not thought about it like this. I'm like, if you want to write some borderline secular music, but glorifying the Lord, read the Songs of Solomon. The guy's name was actually Solomon, and his stage name was the King. So the Lord wants to use him.
Right. Perfect. And there's a lot of not widely released, Songs of Solomon and the other, books, that are not included in the Bible. And people could be like, well, this is amazing. And it's like, well,
that's true. That's good.
So awesome. That's so good to hear. And I think it's good for people to hear too. And I've been trying to analyze this thought so I don't know if I'll be able to materialize it fully, but as you guys were talking, you know, about your when times are hard, you go into your dependence on the Lord and remember, like this, I mean, this is what he did for me. This is the adventure that he calls me on. And ultimately, having a job will never be as exciting as the life that you live now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
All
Right.
the riches in the world cannot provide the fulfillment that you guys live now, because you're living the people-centered life, not the material-centered life. You're living the ultimate currency, not a currency that allows you to, in a sense, bypass the most important one, you know? And I just got this, like, I don't know, like, bubble into a conversation, you know, somebody asking, you know, someone that does like parachute jumping. It's like, why do you jump, you know, out of the parachute, or why do you jump out of the plane to parachute? And it's like, well, I do it for that 30 seconds of enjoyment, like, you know, that 30 seconds of adrenaline. Because honestly, the rest of the jump down can get pretty boring. Like, I've done it before, and you reach a point where it's like, I'm just tired of the wind in my face. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to come there, but then you're willing to go do it again because of that 30-second, you know, burst of adrenaline as you're free falling is so overwhelming that you'd go through that whole, you know, fear before you jump, getting in the plane, you know, doing all that stuff afterwards. And, you know, it's like, people ask, like, why do you live the life of a missionary? Most of it, you're just kind of like in a place of, I want to be back in the United States. I wish we had, you know, more of our toilet. I wish there wasn't cockroach. There's a lot of opportunity for thinking these thoughts that are like, this is hard. Like, you know, this is not, you know, but then you get those moments of, you know, not just 30 seconds, but it's like, what in the world would I do to get this sense of fulfillment? I get recognition from an almighty king. I get to the life saved forever, knowing that someday these two lives are going to converge, where we're celebrating with Jesus on one side and this person on the other side. And that's, you know, for forever. And it's like, you know, just, again, I don't know how to materialize it, you know, fully, but it's just like this image of like, man, all people see when people jump, you know, from the ground view of a parachuter is when they actually have the parachute. They don't actually see them free fall, usually because they're too small, right? So people don't see those moments in your life when you're having that conversation with people about, you know, Jesus, that started with, hey, you look like Jesus. You know what I mean? All they see is like, these are terrible conditions. COVID shut down this and that and the other thing. And so it's cool just to be able to share with people, revel in that, in those times where it's like, in this is the most intense life that you can ever imagine, that produces the most wide array of emotions from any job or, you know, opportunity or life that you can live. And we do it for that, you know, because nothing can fulfill that. Money can't buy that. Experiences can't like, the Grand Canyon is beautiful, but it's nothing compared to seeing a person that couldn't walk again after praying for that. Or like, you know, like any of those, like, it's not, it just doesn't compare, you know. And so yeah, I don't know, maybe that'll make sense to someone, maybe someone's mental.
Yeah, now I get it.
And
no, that was really good. I like your you gave a modern day understanding of the store up for yourself treasures in heaven, as opposed to on earth, where dust, rust, and moths destroy. And every time we jump out of the airplane and the wind is blasting us in the face and we're free falling and we're like talking to somebody, we are watering a seed that's been planted in their spirit, or we're planting a seed in their spirit, or we're being the hand that's helping to harvest that seed into salvation and giving them an opportunity for an eternal inheritance. And in that moment, it's like we're getting a gold nugget just dropped into our pocket. And we're taking that with us, because we're taking them with us. And we're taking everyone that they take with them with us. It's like this exponential kingdom growth that if we all just take part in, like, the light will outshine the darkness.
It's good. Love that. Well, you guys have a lot of different ways that people can connect, you know, with you. What are the main ways that if people just want to ask you questions, or they're considering adoption or ministry, or, you know, if they want to just reach you guys, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I think right now, our main social media page that we're on is We're Waiting for Eden.
Mhm.
That's our username. And over there, we're sharing some of our biblical studies and just what God's doing in our life. So if you want to see like what God's doing in our life and get a hold of us, that's a good way. If you want to check out our coffee, you can do that. It's Level Grounds Expresso, like the .com.
Yeah.
And so you can reach us over there. Our graphic design business is not really all that exciting, but the website for that is jkwdesigns.com.
Super
James
SEO.
Kaylee Wilson.
Super SEO website and URL.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah. So and then I guess I have my personal Instagram that I'm on every once in a while, and that has like pictures of our kids and kind of more our life in Nigeria. And so that is creative with a K, creative, KAY_Wilson. But also if you just look up Kaylee Wilson, we'll pop up. And we have a YouTube channel.
Oh yes,
So
you guys need to get on that YouTube channel and subscribe. The best videos ever.
Yeah, so that's just if you
There's
search...
a whole variety of content available on our YouTube channel.
Probably the most diverse YouTube channel you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah,
is the one of James and multiple different characters still on there? Or was that
the music video.
All on the same scene.
Oh, man.
The music video. That's from Ghana too. So
I showed that to someone here and he was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "It's me." And he's like, "What? This is not you."
Because they'd never seen you with like your
right, because I was
face.
clean shaven and then I had a mustache and I had some 5 o'clock shadow. And...
Yeah.
5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah. So you can find us if you just search our names. And we have our adoption stories have been written about a few times. So honestly, if you just Google us, you'll find us also from there. You can click over to Facebook or YouTube or just pretty much anywhere. It's not wherever God leads you.
Right.
You'll find us.
What do you guys think of you're one of 3 people to have read the book Perspective, Rewire Your Brain for Success and Abundance. If you could tell people a sneak peek, what do you think about it?
Ooh, sneak peek. Okay, let's see. Well, if
Spoiler alert.
No, if you I mean, even if you're starting out or even if you've just been in your business for a while, you need like new outside perspective or like a perspective shift. And if you're new starting out, also, of course, you need to read everything you can. And the book was awesome and we loved it. And Chris did an amazing job. So if you haven't read it yet, definitely get your copy and get one for a friend. And I mean, some of the sections, Chris, is a little too like smart for me, but with the talking about the brain stuff, but James loves that stuff. He loves that kind of stuff. But, and I loved all the stories about your life. I mean, there was stuff in there that we didn't even know about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that was really sweet.
Yeah.
And, we're really proud of you that you got that out, and it's been such an accomplishment. And it's exciting. And you always have something in the works.
We've been loving watching what God has been doing in your life.
Yeah, it's been fun. I feel like I'm parachuting as well. It's like this constant search for, it's like, all right, we've been doing this for 2 months. That's way too long. Let's time for something more.
Yeah.
But maybe the Lord will call us into a season of rest too, where it's like, because it's not that doing more means that you're doing something. You could be doing more and doing less.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, thank you guys so much for jumping on the call. Really appreciate it. I know this is gonna shift minds and hopefully point people to Jesus. And that's another thing that I'll say too. I haven't done this before, but if you guys are interested in this spiritual walk that you're talking about, maybe you were raised Christian and the type of things that we're talking about as far as healing and talking to Jesus, and you don't have to look like Jesus physically, but if that's a different experience than what you've had in the church, like reach out to us and just ask, like, what this isn't the type of Jesus or Christianity that I was taught or that I was raised in. This life that you guys are talking about seems free. It seems like you have a personal relationship with Jesus. It seems like you have a purpose. It's not just something that you guys do on Sunday. It seems like your life is centered on it and not just like something that you do to help guide your morality. And I think a lot of people are asking those questions right now as, COVID has kind of given us the opportunity to reevaluate life in general. We love to have those conversations either with Kaylee and James or myself or my wife or I guess it's the only two people that you have options.
Group call.
Yeah. But we'd love to have that
on
conversation with you. And
So good.
yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Perspective Podcast. To connect with Dr. Bowman, follow him on Instagram @Dr. Chris Bowman. Until next time, make shift happen.